Leo had never imagined that one ordinary morning could change his life forever. He woke up to find a small envelope waiting on the kitchen table. It was old and yellowed, sealed with a wax stamp. The name on it was written in familiar handwriting. It was his grandmother's. Leo's heart skipped a beat. Grandma had passed away peacefully a few weeks ago, but he had never expected to receive anything from her. He hesitated for a moment before breaking the seal. Inside the envelope, he found a key and a letter. He unfolded the letter carefully, almost reverently. It read, "Leo, I leave you my ranch. It needs care, but it holds more than land. Take good care. Love, Grandma." Leo stared at the words, his mind spinning. A ranch? He barely knew anything about farming. The thought of running a ranch, tending to animals, and managing fields felt like stepping into a completely different world. Yet a strange feeling of curiosity and excitement washed over him. Grandma's ranch had always been a part of family stories, but he had never visited it. The next morning, Leo decided he had to see the ranch for himself. He packed a small bag, locked his apartment, and drove out of the city toward the countryside. The road was long, winding through hills and past open fields. The air grew cleaner and the sounds of the city faded. When he finally saw the ranch, he could hardly believe his eyes. The wooden gate that led to the property was weathered and sagging. Paint had peeled off years ago and the hinges creaked when Leo pushed it open. The farmhouse looked even older than he had imagined. Its windows were dusty, the roof had missing shingles, and the porch sagged in the middle. Around the house, the fields were overgrown with tall grass and weeds. Chickens wandered freely, pecking at the ground, and a lone goat stood by the barn looking curiously at the newcomer. Leo sighed, feeling a mix of excitement and worry. How could anyone manage such a place? The ranch seemed abandoned, yet something about it felt alive. As he walked through the yard, he noticed sunlight reflecting off a stream in the distance. The water glittered, cutting through the wild fields like a silver ribbon. It was a beautiful sight, and for the first time Leo felt a sense of hope. He stepped closer to the farmhouse and found the front door slightly open. It creaked as he pushed it, revealing the interior. Dust covered every surface. Old furniture leaned against the walls and cobwebs hung in corners. Leo walked slowly through the house, imagining his grandmother moving through these rooms, tending to the ranch with care. He felt a sudden connection to her, even though she had been gone for a long time. While exploring, Leo discovered something unexpected. In the corner of the living room, under a stack of newspapers, lay his grandmother's journal. Its leather cover was worn, and the pages were filled with notes, sketches, and diagrams. Leo opened it with care, his eyes scanning the words. Grandma had written about the land, the soil, the animals, and most interestingly, the water. One line caught his attention immediately. The land will thrive when the water is found. Leo read the journal for hours, discovering stories about the ranch's history. Grandma had tried to maintain it despite droughts, failing crops, and broken fences. She had written about hidden streams, underground water, and the secret ways water moved beneath the land. Leo realized that the ranch had more to offer than it appeared on the surface. It was not just failing land. It was a mystery waiting to be solved. Determined to understand, Leo decided to take a walk around the property. He explored the barn, which was half falling apart, and found old tools scattered on the ground. A rusty tractor leaned against the wall, and sacks of seeds lay unopened. The fields were wild with tall grass and patches of flowers that had grown freely. Leo could imagine the ranch thriving again if someone cared for it properly. As he walked toward the stream he had seen earlier, he felt a strange sense of peace. The water was clear and cold, flowing gently through rocks and grass. Birds sang in the trees nearby, and the air smelled fresh and sweet. Leo knelt down and dipped his hand into the stream. The water felt alive, as if it held a promise. He remembered the journal's words and wondered if this water was the key to saving the ranch. Leo spent the evening exploring every corner of the property. He noticed that some parts of the land were greener than others. The soil near the stream seemed rich and fertile, while other areas were dry and cracked. He began to understand that his grandmother had been trying to manage something much bigger than he had realized. She had cared for this land for years, even when it seemed impossible to save. As the sun began to set, Leo returned to the farmhouse. He sat on the porch watching the sky turn shades of pink and orange. The ranch was quiet, but it felt alive. Leo realized that inheriting this place was not just about land or buildings. It was about a legacy, a connection to his grandmother, and the chance to discover something extraordinary. That night, Leo slept in the old farmhouse, surrounded by the sounds of the countryside. Crickets chirped, leaves rustled in the wind, and the distant stream whispered its secret song. Leo dreamed of the ranch thriving again, of animals grazing in green fields, and of the water that held the key to its survival. He woke with determination, ready to face the challenges ahead. Over the next few days, Leo began learning about ranch life. He repaired fences, fed the animals, and cleared paths through the overgrown fields. Each day brought new challenges, but also small victories. He discovered the joy of working with the land, of seeing the results of his effort, and of feeling connected to a place his grandmother had loved deeply. One afternoon, while exploring the far end of the ranch, Leo noticed something unusual. The ground near a cluster of trees was damp even though it had not rained for weeks. He dug a small hole and found fresh water seeping from the earth. His heart raced. Could this be the water his grandmother wrote about in her journal? It seemed like the ranch held a hidden treasure, something that could change everything. Leo realized that the ranch was not just a failing property. It was a place with secrets, history, and untapped potential. He decided that he would stay and uncover its mysteries no matter how long it took. The journey ahead would not be easy, but for the first time Leo felt a true sense of purpose. By the end of the week, Leo had begun to feel at home on the ranch. He had cleaned parts of the house, fed the animals, and mapped the land. Every discovery made him more excited. The water, the soil, and the land itself seemed to be inviting him to explore further. Leo knew that his grandmother had trusted him with something very important. As the sun set over the fields, Leo stood on the porch and looked at the sparkling stream. He smiled, feeling a mixture of wonder and determination. This ranch was more than just a piece of land. It was a story, a mystery, and a legacy waiting for him to write the next chapter. Leo whispered softly to the wind, "I will take care of it, Grandma. I promise." And for the first time, he felt that inheriting the ranch was the beginning of an adventure far greater than he could have imagined. Leo woke early the next morning. Sunlight streamed through the dusty windows of the farmhouse, illuminating the worn wooden floors. He felt a sense of purpose he had never felt before. The ranch was a challenge, but it also felt alive with possibility. The sparkling stream he had discovered the previous week seemed to call him, as if urging him to uncover the land's secrets. After breakfast, Leo grabbed a notebook and a pen. He wanted to map the ranch carefully so he could understand the land better. He walked across the fields, noting the areas that were fertile and the parts that were dry and cracked. The animals followed him, curious about his movements. Chickens pecked at the soil, the goat bleated softly, and a few cows grazed lazily in the distance. As Leo studied the land, he remembered his grandmother's journal. She had written extensively about water flowing beneath the ranch. According to her notes, there were hidden streams and underground springs that had the power to revive even the driest soil. Leo wondered if the small stream he had found was connected to a larger water source underground. He decided to investigate. Leo began digging near the damp patch of soil he had noticed earlier. The ground was tough and his hands soon became sore and scratched, but he refused to stop. After several hours, he hit something hard. At first, he thought it was a rock, but as he dug further, he discovered a narrow channel filled with clear water. His eyes widened. This was not just surface water. It was part of an underground source. Excited, Leo filled a small bottle with the water and tasted it. It was fresh, cold, and pure. He remembered his grandmother's words. "The land will thrive when the water is found." Leo realized that this water could save the ranch. He felt a rush of hope and determination. If he could find the full extent of this hidden source, he could restore the land to its former glory. Leo spent the next few days exploring the ranch more thoroughly. He noticed patterns in the terrain that he had not seen before. Some areas were naturally lower, forming small valleys, while others had gentle slopes that could guide water flow. He sketched maps in his notebook, marking every detail he thought might be important. One afternoon, while following the path of the stream, Leo discovered an old wooden well hidden beneath overgrown vines. The well looked unused for decades, but it was in surprisingly good condition. He removed the vines and peered inside. Water reflected the sunlight from the bottom, confirming that the well was still functional. Leo wondered if this well had been part of the underground water system his grandmother mentioned. That evening, Leo returned to the farmhouse, carrying fresh water from the well. He cleaned it and stored it in large barrels, planning to use it to water the fields. The animals drank eagerly, and the plants near the farmhouse began to look greener within a few days. Leo felt a sense of pride. He was starting to understand the rhythm of the land, just as his grandmother had. However, restoring a ranch was not easy. The barn roof leaked, the fences were broken, and weeds grew thick in some fields. Leo realized he would need help if he wanted to manage everything. He decided to visit the nearest town to find tools and possibly some guidance. The town was small with friendly faces and a few stores. Leo introduced himself to some locals and mentioned the ranch he had inherited. One elderly man named Henry listened carefully. Henry had known Leo's grandmother and remembered her well. He offered advice on caring for the land and told Leo about the hidden water sources beneath the ranch. According to Henry, the ranch had been built over a natural underground spring, and previous owners had tried unsuccessfully to tap it. He warned Leo that managing the water properly would require careful planning. Leo thanked Henry and returned to the ranch, more determined than ever. He realized that the hidden water source could be the key to transforming the failing ranch into a thriving farm. He planned to dig channels, repair fences, and plant crops in the areas that received the most water. The idea of restoring his grandmother's land filled him with energy. Over the next week, Leo worked tirelessly. He repaired fences to keep the animals safe, cleared overgrown paths, and dug shallow channels to guide water from the well to the fields. Every day brought small victories. The goats and cows seemed happier. The chickens wandered freely without danger, and patches of green began to appear in the previously dry areas. Leo could feel the land responding to his care. One morning, Leo noticed something strange. In a patch of field that had been dry for years, tiny sprouts had started to grow. He knelt to examine them. The soil was rich, and the water from the underground source had nourished it perfectly. Leo felt a deep sense of connection to his grandmother. She had believed in this land, and now he was beginning to see her vision come to life. Leo spent evenings reading more of his grandmother's journal. She had written about planting schedules, animal care, and water management techniques. Her notes were detailed and precise, showing how much she had loved the ranch. Leo realized that the land's revival depended not only on water, but also on patience, care, and knowledge passed down from generation to generation. As the days passed, Leo noticed other signs of life returning to the ranch. Birds nested in the trees, butterflies fluttered over the flowers, and the air seemed fresher. Even the barn animals grew stronger and healthier. Leo's heart swelled with pride. The ranch, which had seemed abandoned and hopeless, was beginning to thrive again. One afternoon, while exploring a distant corner of the property, Leo discovered another damp area of soil. He dug carefully and found another underground stream, smaller than the first but still flowing steadily. The discovery confirmed what he had suspected. The ranch had multiple hidden water sources. This realization filled him with hope. He could expand the fields, plant more crops, and support more animals. Leo realized that his grandmother had left him more than land. She had left him a treasure hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be found. The water was the heart of the ranch, and by uncovering it, Leo could honor her legacy. He began planning carefully, deciding where to plant crops, where to build pens, and how to use the water efficiently. As night fell, Leo stood on the porch looking at the glowing stream under the moonlight. He felt a sense of accomplishment and wonder. The ranch was alive, and he was part of its revival. For the first time, he understood his grandmother's vision. The failing ranch could be transformed into something beautiful and productive. Leo whispered to himself, "I will not let this land fail. I will find every hidden treasure beneath it and make it thrive again." He knew the journey ahead would be long and full of challenges. There would be days of hard work, unexpected problems, and perhaps setbacks. But Leo also knew that the rewards were worth the effort. The ranch was more than land. It was a story, a connection to his grandmother, and a promise of a brighter future. By the end of the week, Leo had created a small map of the ranch, marking the water sources, fertile land, and areas that needed care. He could see the potential clearly. The hidden streams were like veins of life running beneath the earth, waiting to nourish the ranch fully. Leo felt proud and inspired. He understood that he had been given a gift greater than he had imagined. The failing ranch, with all its challenges, was a place of discovery, hope, and legacy. Leo knew that he was ready to face whatever lay ahead. The underground water, the fertile soil, and the land itself were calling him to bring the ranch back to life. Leo went to bed that night feeling tired but satisfied. The ranch was beginning to reveal its secrets, and he was ready to uncover them all. The adventure of saving the ranch had truly begun, and Leo felt that his grandmother's spirit was guiding him every step of the way. Leo woke early, the morning air crisp and cool around the farmhouse. The sun had barely risen, but he was already preparing for a long day. The past weeks had been full of discovery, and he was beginning to feel confident about the ranch. The hidden water sources had revived small parts of the land, but he knew the real challenge was ahead. He needed to use the water to grow crops and bring the ranch back to life. He grabbed his tools and walked across the fields. The soil near the underground streams had softened and darkened, a clear sign that life was returning. Leo marked the areas where the water reached naturally and planned to plant vegetables and grains there first. He remembered his grandmother's journal, which had detailed notes on planting schedules and soil care. Following her advice carefully, he prepared the land by removing weeds, loosening the soil, and creating small irrigation channels. Leo worked steadily throughout the morning. Sweat ran down his face, but he felt a sense of purpose and connection with the land. By midday, he had prepared several small plots for planting. He scattered seeds for corn, carrots, and beans, carefully covering them with soil. Then he used water from the underground streams to irrigate the fields. Watching the water soak into the soil, he felt hope stirring inside him. This was the first step in reviving the ranch. As he worked, Leo noticed the animals watching him curiously. The goats and cows had wandered near the newly planted fields, sniffing at the soil. Leo smiled and gently guided them back toward the barn, explaining softly as if they could understand him. The animals had grown healthier in the past weeks, and Leo realized that their well-being was closely tied to the land's revival. Healthy soil, clean water, and proper care of animals all worked together. By late afternoon, Leo was tired but satisfied. He walked toward the stream to refill his water containers, enjoying the gentle sound of flowing water. The stream sparkled in the sunlight, reminding him of the promise hidden beneath the ranch. He thought about his grandmother and the care she had given this land over the years. Her belief in the water's power now inspired him to continue, even when the work seemed difficult. Leo spent the next few days planting more crops, repairing old fences, and expanding the irrigation channels. Each evening, he reviewed his grandmother's journal to check his progress and make new plans. Her notes about water management were especially helpful. She had suggested ways to distribute water evenly across fields, how to protect plants during dry spells, and how to rotate crops to keep the soil fertile. Leo followed her instructions closely, determined to honor her legacy. One afternoon, Leo discovered a problem he had not expected. A section of the newly planted fields had begun to dry out, even though it was near a stream. He dug into the soil and found that an underground channel had partially collapsed, blocking the flow of water. Leo's heart sank. This was the first major setback since he had begun working on the ranch. He realized that reviving the land would not be easy. Leo spent hours clearing the blockage. He carefully removed soil and rocks, checking the channel to ensure water could flow freely. His hands were scratched and sore, but he refused to give up. By the evening, water began to trickle into the previously dry field. Leo smiled, feeling a surge of relief and pride. The first real test of the ranch had been difficult, but he had faced it and succeeded. Encouraged by this small victory, Leo continued to improve the irrigation system. He built simple wooden gates and channels to guide the water where it was most needed. The soil began to darken and soften, showing signs of life. Tiny sprouts from the first seeds Leo had planted began to appear, a clear sign that his efforts were working. Each new plant filled him with excitement and confidence. One morning, Leo noticed something unusual near the edge of the property. A group of deer had wandered into the fields, grazing carefully among the crops. Leo watched quietly, amazed by the sight. The ranch was not just reviving for him. It was becoming a habitat for wildlife as well. Birds, rabbits, and other small animals were returning, drawn by the clean water and growing plants. The land was healing, and Leo was part of that transformation. Despite the progress, Leo faced another challenge. The weather had turned unexpectedly dry for several days, and some fields were beginning to wilt. Leo knew that relying solely on the visible streams would not be enough. He remembered his grandmother's notes about hidden water sources and decided to explore more areas of the ranch. Carefully, he mapped the land and dug small test holes, searching for underground water. His patience paid off. Near the back of the ranch, he discovered a smaller stream flowing beneath the soil. He dug channels to bring this water to the struggling fields, gradually reviving the crops. It was hard work, but Leo felt a sense of accomplishment. The ranch was slowly transforming under his care. Each obstacle he faced became a lesson in resilience and problem-solving. As the weeks passed, the ranch began to show remarkable signs of life. Corn stalks reached for the sky, carrot leaves turned green and healthy, and beans climbed trellises Leo had built. The animals thrived, drinking clean water and grazing on fresh grass. The air smelled sweet with new growth, and the land seemed alive in a way Leo had never imagined. One evening, Leo stood on the porch and looked over the ranch. The sun was setting, painting the fields in golden light. He felt a deep sense of gratitude. The ranch had tested him, pushed him to work harder, and rewarded him with glimpses of beauty and life. He realized that the journey of restoring the ranch was teaching him more than he had expected. It was teaching patience, care, and respect for nature. Leo also began to think about the future. The ranch had the potential to support more crops, more animals, and even people who might come to help or learn from him. He started planning new projects, such as a small vegetable garden near the farmhouse and additional shelters for animals. Each idea brought a sense of excitement, knowing that the ranch's revival was just beginning. One morning, as Leo checked the irrigation channels, he noticed fresh footprints near one of the streams. At first, he thought it might be an animal, but then he saw that the prints were too large. Someone had been walking near the water sources. Leo's curiosity grew. He wondered if someone else knew about the underground streams and whether they had come to the ranch before. He decided to investigate carefully, keeping an eye on the land for signs of visitors. Despite this new mystery, Leo focused on the work at hand. He strengthened fences, planted additional seeds, and monitored the water carefully. The ranch responded beautifully. Plants flourished, animals grew stronger, and the streams flowed steadily. Leo felt a sense of pride in the land he was nurturing. Each day brought new challenges, but also new rewards. By the end of the month, the ranch was almost unrecognizable from the day Leo had first arrived. The fields were green and productive, the barn animals healthy and happy, and the streams flowing freely. The land, which had seemed abandoned and hopeless, was alive and thriving. Leo knew that his grandmother would be proud. Leo realized that the ranch's revival was not just about water or crops. It was about care, determination, and respect for the land. Each challenge he faced was a test, and each success was proof that the ranch could be saved. The underground water sources, once hidden and forgotten, were now bringing life and hope to the entire property. As the sun set, Leo sat on the porch, reflecting on the journey so far. He thought about the challenges he had overcome, the lessons he had learned, and the land he had begun to heal. The ranch was no longer failing. It was alive, vibrant, and full of possibilities. Leo knew that the adventure of saving his grandmother's legacy had only just begun. He whispered softly, feeling the connection deeply. "This land is alive, Grandma. I will keep it safe and strong. I promise." Leo felt a surge of determination. The ranch had tested him, but he had proven to himself that he could face any challenge. The hidden water, the fertile soil, and the thriving animals were proof that hard work and care could transform even the most struggling land. He was ready for whatever came next. Leo woke early, the ranch bathed in the soft golden light of dawn. The work over the past weeks had brought the land back to life. Fields were green, crops had begun to grow, and animals thrived. Yet Leo could not shake the feeling that there was still more to discover. His grandmother's journal hinted at something powerful hidden beneath the land. The streams and small channels were only part of it. After breakfast, Leo decided to explore the far side of the ranch. He packed tools, a notebook, and some water, and set out with determination. The area he wanted to investigate had long been overgrown with bushes and vines. No one had walked there for years. As Leo pushed through the thick plants, he felt the air grow cooler, and the soil beneath his feet felt unusually damp. Suddenly, he noticed a pattern in the ground. Small depressions formed a faint trail that led toward a cluster of old trees. Leo knelt to examine them and realized that these marks were not natural. They seemed to follow the flow of underground water, like a hidden path beneath the soil. His heart raced with excitement. Could this be the key to the ranch's full revival? Leo began digging carefully along the trail. The soil was soft and wet, unlike the dry areas he had worked on before. He uncovered a narrow channel of water flowing steadily underground. The stream was larger than any he had seen on the surface. It seemed to carry enough water to nourish the entire ranch if properly managed. Leo realized that this hidden source was the true treasure his grandmother had written about in her journal. He spent hours tracing the stream, mapping its path through the land. It twisted and turned beneath the fields, disappearing under thick trees and reappearing near other small springs he had already discovered. Leo felt a deep sense of awe. The ranch was alive in ways he had never imagined, and he held the secret to its full potential. Excited by the discovery, Leo returned to the farmhouse to plan carefully. He knew that if he could channel this underground water to the dry fields, the ranch could flourish completely. He also realized that managing such a resource required caution. Improper use could flood some areas or damage the soil. He studied his grandmother's notes on irrigation and water flow, finding detailed sketches and instructions on how to use water wisely. The next morning, Leo began building small channels and gates to guide the underground water to the struggling fields. He worked from sunrise to sunset, carefully measuring slopes and adjusting paths to ensure the water would flow evenly. The work was exhausting, but every small victory encouraged him. Tiny sprouts grew taller each day, and the soil became richer and darker, signaling life returning in full force. While inspecting the channels, Leo noticed something unusual. Some areas of the underground stream were blocked by rocks and roots. He carefully cleared the obstacles, ensuring the water would continue to flow freely. The work required patience and attention to detail, but Leo was determined to succeed. He remembered his grandmother's words. The land would thrive when the water was found and properly used. As the days passed, the ranch began to transform. Crops grew taller, leaves turned vibrant green, and flowers bloomed along the edges of fields. Animals enjoyed fresh grass and water, and birds returned to nest in the trees. Leo felt a sense of pride and fulfillment. The ranch, which had seemed abandoned and hopeless, was now alive with energy and promise. One afternoon, while checking the far end of the property, Leo discovered an old stone structure partially hidden by vines. It appeared to be a small storage cellar, long forgotten. He cleared the plants and opened the heavy wooden door. Inside, he found barrels of seeds, old tools, and carefully labeled jars of preserved vegetables. The discovery was remarkable. His grandmother had prepared for the ranch's future, leaving resources to help whoever inherited the land. Leo felt a deep connection to her. Excited by this find, Leo decided to expand the irrigation channels to include more fields. He carefully guided water from the underground stream to reach every part of the ranch. By evening, he watched as the land seemed to come alive before his eyes. Crops bent in the gentle breeze, streams sparkled in the sunlight, and the animals moved freely, happy and healthy. The hidden water had become the lifeblood of the ranch. However, Leo knew the ranch still had challenges. Some areas were prone to flooding if too much water flowed at once. He carefully built small dams and gates to control the flow. Each adjustment required thought and precision, but Leo enjoyed the work. It was like solving a puzzle, and each solution brought new life to the land. One morning, Leo noticed fresh tracks near one of the streams. At first he thought it was an animal, but the prints were too large. Someone had walked through the ranch. Leo felt a moment of concern but decided to investigate calmly. He followed the tracks and discovered a young man from the nearby town. The man introduced himself as Sam and explained that he had heard about the ranch's revival and wanted to help. Leo welcomed him, grateful for the assistance. With Sam's help, Leo worked even more efficiently. They repaired fences, expanded the irrigation system, and cleared more overgrown areas. Sam learned quickly and shared ideas about improving water flow and planting strategies. Together, They discovered that the hidden water source could support much more than they had imagined. The ranch had the potential to thrive beyond Leo's expectations. As weeks passed, the fields became lush with crops. Corn grew tall, beans climbed trellises, carrots and vegetables flourished, and flowers lined the edges of the property. Animals grazed happily, and the streams flowed steadily throughout the ranch. The air smelled fresh and sweet, filled with the sense of growing plants and rich soil. The land was alive, vibrant, and full of promise. Leo felt a sense of deep satisfaction. The ranch was no longer failing. It was thriving, all because he had discovered and carefully used the hidden water resource. The secret beneath the land had transformed everything. He realized that his grandmother had trusted him with more than property. She had entrusted him with a living legacy, a treasure hidden in the earth that required care, patience, and understanding. One evening, as Leo and Sam rested on the porch, they watched the sunset over the fields. The golden light reflected off the streams, making the water sparkle like jewels. Leo felt a connection to his grandmother and to the land itself. He understood that the ranch's revival was not just about crops or animals. It was about life, hope, and the careful use of nature's gifts. Leo whispered softly, feeling gratitude and determination. "Thank you, Grandma. I will take care of this land, and I will make it stronger than ever." He knew there were more discoveries to make. The underground water might have other secrets, and the ranch could still grow even more productive. But Leo also knew that he had already achieved something remarkable. The failing ranch had become a place of life, energy, and possibility. By the end of the month, Leo and Sam had completed most of the major improvements. The ranch was thriving, crops were flourishing, animals were healthy, and the land seemed to glow with life. The hidden water had proven to be the key, and careful planning had made it accessible and sustainable. Leo felt proud of what they had accomplished. Yet Leo also understood that the ranch's success required ongoing effort. He continued to study the land, observe the streams, and improve irrigation. Every challenge became a chance to learn, every obstacle a test of patience and skill. The land was teaching him just as his grandmother had hoped. As Leo stood on the porch one evening, watching the golden sunlight reflect on the sparkling streams, he felt a profound sense of purpose. The ranch was no longer a failing property. It was a living legacy, a hidden treasure revealed through patience, care, and determination. Leo knew that he was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. He whispered once more to the wind, "This land will thrive, and I will protect it. The ranch is alive, and so is our legacy." The ranch had revealed its secret, and Leo had unlocked its full potential. The underground water, once hidden and forgotten, had become the heart of the property. And with each passing day, Leo knew that the adventure of saving his grandmother's ranch was only just beginning. Weeks turned into months, and Leo's ranch continued to bloom. Every corner of the land showed signs of life and hard work. The hidden water stream that Leo had discovered became the heart of the ranch. Crops grew taller and greener, trees bore fresh fruits, and birds built nests in their branches. The sound of water flowing through the channels was like a song of life that never stopped. Leo worked every day with care and patience. He repaired tools, managed irrigation gates, and made sure that every field received enough water. Sam continued to help, and together they formed a strong friendship built on respect and shared dreams. They often spoke about the future and the possibilities of expanding the ranch. One sunny morning, Leo stood on the porch and looked across the fields. The sight filled his heart with peace. The golden sunlight touched the green crops, and the whole land seemed to shine. He could almost hear his grandmother's voice reminding him to stay humble and kind to the earth. Leo smiled softly. He knew that the ranch was not just land. It was a living memory of his family and a symbol of hope. As the season changed, Leo decided to plant new crops. He wanted to grow fruits and vegetables that could be shared with the nearby town. He and Sam spent several days preparing the soil, planting seeds, and building new channels to guide the water evenly. They worked from morning until the stars appeared, talking and laughing as they worked. At night, Leo often sat on the porch and looked at the sky. The stars were bright and clear, and the moonlight covered the ranch in a silver glow. The soft sound of flowing water and the cool wind made him feel calm. He thought about how far he had come. When he first arrived, the ranch had been dry and silent. Now it was alive and full of energy. He knew his grandmother would be proud. One day, a visitor came to the ranch. It was a woman named Clara, who worked with the local farming community. She had heard stories about Leo's success and came to learn how he had revived the land. Leo welcomed her warmly and showed her the underground water system, the new irrigation channels, and the healthy crops. Clara listened carefully and took notes. She was amazed by what she saw. "You have done something truly special here," Clara said. "This system could help many other farmers who struggle with dry land. Would you be willing to share your knowledge with them?" Leo thought for a moment. He remembered how hard it had been when he first arrived, not knowing how to save the ranch. He understood the struggle of others who faced the same problem. With a gentle smile, he nodded. "Yes, I will help," Leo replied. "If this water can bring life here, maybe it can bring life to other lands too." From that day, Leo began to visit nearby farms with Sam and Clara. They taught other farmers how to find underground water, how to build small channels, and how to care for the soil. Many people were inspired by Leo's story. Soon the whole valley began to change. Fields that were once dry started to grow green again. Streams that had been forgotten now flowed freely. Leo's ranch became a center of learning and hope. Farmers from faraway villages came to see the system and learn from Leo. He never acted proud or boastful. Instead, he always said that the credit belonged to the land and his grandmother's wisdom. He shared seeds, tools, and even water from his own channels to help others. As the months passed, the ranch grew even stronger. The crops filled the storage barn and the animals multiplied. The air smelled sweet with flowers and ripe fruits. Leo built new shelters, a small workshop, and a garden near the farmhouse. He also planted a young tree near the porch in memory of his grandmother. Every morning he watered it himself. One evening, while sitting with Sam and Clara, Leo said, "When I came here, I thought saving this ranch was my only goal, but now I see that it is much bigger than that. This land has taught me patience, hope, and sharing. It gave me more than I ever expected." Sam nodded with a smile. "You turned an empty field into a home for life. That's something not many people can do." Clara added, "You didn't just save the ranch, Leo. You inspired others to believe that dry land can live again." Leo felt his heart fill with quiet pride. He looked at the wide fields glowing under the setting sun. The golden light touched the water streams, making them sparkle like silver lines running across the earth. He could feel the strength of the land, the rhythm of life flowing beneath his feet. As time went on, Leo began to write down everything he had learned. He filled notebooks with drawings, maps, and explanations about water management, soil care, and planting methods. He wanted the knowledge to last for future generations. He also wrote stories about his grandmother and her love for the ranch, so others could understand the heart behind the work. One morning, Leo woke to the sound of rain. It was the first big rain of the new season. The drops fell gently at first and then grew heavier, filling the streams and soaking the fields. Leo and Sam ran outside laughing as the water flowed through the channels they had built. The soil absorbed the rain happily and the plants seemed to stretch toward the sky. "This rain feels like a gift," Sam shouted over the sound of water. Leo laughed and nodded. "It's the land's way of saying thank you." When the rain stopped, a rainbow appeared across the sky. Its bright colors reflected in the water below. Leo stood quietly, watching it with deep gratitude. Everything he had worked for was now shining before him. The ranch, once dry and forgotten, had become a place of beauty and hope. In the following weeks, Leo continued to improve the ranch. He built small windmills to help draw water during dry days and added more crops to the garden. He even started raising bees to help with pollination. The ranch had become a complete, self-sustaining ecosystem. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Leo stood under the tree he had planted for his grandmother. It had grown tall, its branches wide and strong. He placed his hand on its trunk and whispered softly, "We did it. The ranch lives again." The wind moved through the leaves gently, almost as if the tree was answering him. Leo smiled and turned to look at the fields one last time that day. The streams glowed under the fading sunlight, and the fields stretched far into the distance, green and alive. He felt peace deep inside. The promise he had made to his grandmother was fulfilled. The land was not only saved but also thriving more than ever. And Leo knew that the work would never truly end. There would always be more to learn, more to grow, and more to share. As the night fell and stars filled the sky, Leo sat on the porch, listening to the sound of the water and the whisper of the wind. The ranch was alive, and so was his spirit. The legacy of his grandmother lived on through every leaf, every drop of water, and every seed that grew in the soil. The future was bright, and Leo was ready to face it with strength, hope, and love for the land. The ranch stood as a symbol of life and perseverance, a reminder that even the driest land can bloom again with care, patience, and faith. The hidden treasure beneath the earth had revealed more than water. It had revealed the true power of hope, hard work, and the bond between people and nature. And for Leo, that was the greatest gift of all.